Everybody, and welcome to the patch 12.23b update review thing. So I've been seeing a lot of you guys asking me to make this video faster, and I've been stalling on making it because I want to get the actual patch notes from Riot and not just info that is like data mined from Twitter off people like that. Remember, any of the info off Twitter that doesn't come from Riot is not official. The notes aren't guaranteed to be 100% accurate. Within these notes, there's a lot of champions and a lot of changes here that were not properly shown, and the data mining didn't actually hit them correctly. So now what I'm going to do, we're going to go through all the changes. Now, reminder, they should all be live right now across all servers because it's a hotfix. So this shouldn't be a thing. Normally in my videos, I have to explain like, oh, these will go live in a week, or oh, these will go live tomorrow. All of these should be live now. Okay, so the first up, we have a giga nerf on Mundo. Mundo is doing a bit too good right now at the low ranks. So what they're doing is slaughtering him at the high ranks. Now, I know you're wondering, wait, that doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense to me either. I assure you, I do not understand the point of giga nerfing his early game to stop him from being overpowered at the low ranks. Remember, low ranks cares more about the late game, high ranks cares more about the early game. So they are nerfing his health regeneration growth. They are making the penalty, so when his canister drops off him due to CC, that's being nerfed. Instead of losing 3% current health, he's going to lose 4% current health. His passive is also being nerfed into the late game. Instead of 0.4 to 2.5, it's 0.4 to 2.3. So in the late game, he'll heal less off his base health regen, and he'll heal less off his passive. So you might be wondering, okay, but that's not nerfing that's not nerfing his early game. What are they doing in the early game? Well, in the early game, his E cost will go down by 10. His Q cost will go down by 10. That's good, right? Great. That's awesome. Unfortunately, his Q health cost is going up to 90. So rank 5, his Q health cost will be 90 instead of 60. In addition, his health cost on his E is going up from 20 to 60 to 10 to 70. So at level 9, he's getting nerfed really hard. At level 13, he's also getting nerfed. So right when the high ranking games matter most, at like that early game area, he's getting nerfed really hard on the health costs on his Q and his E. In addition to that, his ultimate cooldown is going up from 110 to 120. So at this point, because Mundo actually is balanced because most of his power is in his level 16, he's actually somewhat balanced at the higher ranks and is enormously overpowered at the low ranks. This change, I highly suspect he's still going to be overpowered in the low ranks, but he will now be unplayable at the high ranks. So good job, Riot. He definitely needed that quirky, funny level 16 modifier in his ultimate, because as we all know, Mundo is a champion who's very balanced at all ranks and definitely doesn't have a problem being overpowered at the low ranks. So obviously the correct thing to do was to make him even stronger at the low ranks. Hecarim is getting nerfed. Whenever he spins his Q, he gets bonus damage. That was 4% plus 5% per 100 AD, stacking up to 3 times. It would now be 3% plus 4% per 100 AD, stacking up to 3 times. So with 100 AD, it used to stack up to, what was that, 27% bonus damage. With 100 AD, it will now stack up to, what is that, 21% bonus damage? So from 27 to 21. Not like a huge deal. Am I doing that right? Yeah, 12 plus 9. Yeah, okay. So not like a huge giga deal, but yeah, I mean, a little bit, a decent nerf. Hecarim will definitely helicopter a bit less hard. Janna's being nerfed because Janna is obviously one of the most overpowered champions basically every patch for the last year. And every so often, Riot seems to notice how overpowered she is, and they give her a small little nerf. I don't know. Janna, if I look this up, is Janna still just going? Yep. Janna is still just 54%, just literally one of the most broken champions in the entire game. But she never really seems to get a real nerf. It's just like every so often, Riot's like, get down, like, They like go like, stop it, Janna, stop being the most broken champion in the game. No one seems to know about it, and no one seems to care about it, so whatever. The passive bonus movement speed is going down from 8 to 6%, and then the amount of bonus damage she gets from shielding someone is going down by 10 flat at the later. So instead of 10 to 40 bonus damage to people she shields, she's giving 10 to 30 damage. Will this be enough to balance her? No, probably not. Yeah, she's like honest to God, she's like super low-key, one of the most broken champions in the game, if not the most broken champion in the game. It's just, once again, no one seems to notice or care, so nothing ever happens about it. Lilia, because apparently making her melee made her stupidly overpowered, especially when you now rush Demonic Embrace on her, she becomes monstrously overpowered. So what is Riot doing? Her passive percent health damage over 5 seconds is going from 6 to 5. So every 5 seconds, she'll deal 1% less health damage. Then her Q is going down by 5 flat. So instead of hitting you at the outer edge, doing 80 damage with 40 of it true damage, it will now do 70 damage with 35 of it at true damage. Then that goes up. So at max rank, instead of 160, she'll deal 150. Overall, not really a huge nerf, but I don't know. She just seems to be really overpowered with Demonic Rush. Lux, and this is one of the reasons don't get your info from Twitter, because everyone was complaining all they were doing was buffing Lux's ultimate. Then lo and behold, they're buffing her E and her ultimate. Ta-da! Don't get all your info on Twitter. Twitter only tries to data mine. They don't actually have the real Riot notes. I'm saying this because I seem to be the one who gets the fallout. Everyone goes to me and they say, what about X change? Did that go live? No, because it was never actually a change. Someone just data mined. And the thing is, when stuff gets put on the PBE, often it's just developers like spitballing. They just sort of go like, what if we did this change? And then it goes on the PBE and they're like, we don't like that. And then everyone's like, oh my God, they're nerfing Divine Sunderer to only current health damage. And then everyone's like, when's that happening, Hashinshin? And I'm like, well, it's not. Right? Never said that was happening. There was like one developer just spitballing randomly and it just didn't work out. So the AP ratio on her E and her ultimate are going up. 10% more AP on her E, 20% more AP on her ultimate. Personally, I think Lux's cooldowns should go down. That's kind of her issue. She can kill people just fine, and I guess they're trying to continue to undo the entire durability update for every champion. She can't really like one combo champions because you're not supposed to one combo champions after the durability update. Riot seems to get very upset that she can't one combo champions, so they're giving her enough damage to offset the durability update instead of, you know, just reducing her cooldowns to be more realistic. Nyla's Q damage is being, what is that? Nerfed. Yes, it is actually being nerfed. So these Nyla changes are overall big nerfs. A lot of people, by a lot of people, I mean, some people have finally figured out that Nyla has really good synergy with a lot of different champions. And so by using that synergy, she kind of becomes extremely overpowered. Let me look that up for you, just so you know I'm not kind of making stuff up or talking out of my ass. Okay, so if I go to bot and I look up Nyla, yeah, see, her pick rate isn't very high, but the thing is, when Nyla does get picked with certain champions, she just goes absolutely insane and kind of breaks the game. So they're giving her some large nerfs with that. Her Q damage is going down, but the late game damage is being buffed. So her Q in the early game is nerfed. Her Q in the late game is buffed. Her Q passive healing on basic and formless blade against champions. Okay, so that is being buffed. So she's going to heal more throughout the game, do less damage on her Q early game, a little bit more in the late game. Her R damage is also getting nerfed. Her R healing is getting nerfed in the early game, buffed in the late game. So overall, more healing, a bit less damage, but in the late game, she should have more healing and more damage. I think they were just trying to hit the mid-game Nyla, because with some champions, mid-game Nyla tends to be extremely unbeatable. In particular, they seem to want to take her ultimate damage down a little bit to try to stop her from one-shotting people. Okay. Rammus, who every Rammus player seems to have figured out that you build Thornmail and then you one-shot everyone. Ta-da! Yeah, so Rammus is having his W, that's his defensive ball curl. Its duration is increased. This will give you a little bit more time in between defensive ball curls where you can actually touch him without exploding into a barrel of magic damage. Then his armor is going down and his magic resist is also going down when he uses defensive ball curl. That's it, nothing really else happening. They're just giving you more time to hit him and he will have less armor. Odier is getting a bunch of different changes. His WER mana costs are going down to his Q mana cost. His Q mana cost had a lower mana cost for some reason. So now all his abilities have a lower mana cost. His Q damage is also being reduced. The percent health damage is going down. The AD ratio is going down, and the damage at max rank is also going down. Then his on hit is being the flat damage is being nerfed, but the AD ratio is being buffed. So if you continue to build more damage, he'll hit for harder, but he'll do less health damage. Then, because his Q has, I shit you not, 4 forms of damage scaling. No, I'm not joking. It scales damage. It scales attack damage 4 different times in one ability. Yes, I assure you. The awakened physical damage is going down. So instead of 2 to 5%, it's 2 to 4%. And then the AD ratio is being nerfed considerably from 3% to 2%. Then the R base damage per tick is also going down at the later ranks. What does this mean? This means hopefully AD lethality, haha, quirky one-shot Udyr no longer runs up and kills people in 2 hits. Although it was funny and it was quirky, and it was so funny and quirky, haha, lethality off meta Udyr, haha, one-shot people, haha, funny quirky build. I don't even know where I'm going with this one. This build was stupid. Riot should feel bad. Please nerf his AD ratios hard and then just give him an AD ratio on his shield. He doesn't need to be a one-shot champion. Just make him a real champion. Not a one-shot champion, a real champion. Please, Riot. It is stupid that he's a funny, quirky one-shot champion instead of an actual champion. Okay? This isn't, you guys are telling me this is an R damage buff. Oh. The damage per tick is going, okay, yeah, the base damage is going up, not down slightly, my bad. It doesn't matter. The amount of base damage it's losing is insane. It getting 10 more damage at max rank doesn't make up for the fact that it's losing it's 1% health damage. And then the AD ratio is going down by 33%. It's losing a third of its damage, guys. 10 more damage per tick doesn't make up for that. Zed is receiving a lot of nerfs here. The Q base damage is going down by 10. So 10 less base damage on his Q. That's his shuriken. Shing! His E, which is a shoo, that is going up by 1 second cooldown at max ranks. Instead of 5 to 3, it's 5 to 4. Then in addition to that, his E base damage, that's a shoo, it's a slash around him. That base damage is also going down by 5. So his slash will have a higher cooldown for less damage, and his razor shurikens will deal less damage. Jax Show the Proteon is being nerfed as well. The total cost is going up by 100, and the amount of armor and MR you get per second has gone down from 3 to 2. So instead of getting a total of 24 magic resistant armor from having it stacked up, you get 16, again, magic resistant armor. That's back where it used to be. Overall, this is a really bad change. Tanks seem to be getting obliterated because reasons, I don't know. We're not in a tank meta. We have never been in a tank meta. Tanks overall are getting buffed because they are very, very underpowered right now. Champions like Ornn are not going to survive this Jax Show nerf. Ornn is barely playable as is, and now he's going to have to get buffed. So I'm not really sure what Riot is doing. The problem wasn't Jax Show. The problem was Blade of the Ruined King and Ravenous Hydra being used with Jax Show, and both of those items doing way too much damage for being one item. So you'd get one item, and then you'd go Jax Show, and now you're tanky and deal damage because your one item dealt too much damage. However, they are buffing the Giant Slayer bonus damage. So, Lord Dominic's Regards will now deal more damage to tanky champions. Why? Because we're still not in a tank meta. I think AD carries have literally like gaslit Riot into actually getting themselves buffed. They're not underpowered, and they have not been underpowered ever, actually. I think there's only one moment in time in all League of Legends history where AD carries could proclaim to be underpowered. Other than that, it's been 13 years of AD carries on top. I literally feel like they gaslight Riot into feeling like they're underpowered. They meme it nonstop, but the blunt fact of the matter is AD carries have never been underpowered in any considerable way for 13 years. There's one time that they were a little underpowered. They've never been driven out of the meta. They've never not been viable. 20% of the game, well, actually more than 20%, because you have champions like Graves in the jungle, Lucian in mid, Akshan in top. 20 to 30% of the game has been AD carries. Despite being the smallest class, AD carries make up the largest amount of picks, and it's kind of insane that they've actually gaslit Riot into making them feel like they're underpowered. Moss Stomper is getting its shield strength nerfed. That's the green jungle thing. Shockingly, every single jungle champion getting a Giga Shield that also gave them tenacity was a little overpowered. Who knew? I didn't know. I did know, and I did tell Riot many times that it was going to be overpowered. They didn't listen because reasons. Ravenous Hydra is getting a nerf to its cleave damage from 50% on range, or from 50% on melee to 40% on melee. Then instead of losing 50% of stacks, you now lose 60% of stacks. Instead of walking up to a minion wave and instantly AoEing it down to get full stacks, you will now walk up to a wave and instantly AoE it down to get full stacks. This is a massive nerf to the most broken item in the game, and I hope Riot thinks next time before doing absolutely nothing to the most overpowered item in the game. Stormrazor is getting 5 more damage. I think, once again, AD carries gaslit Riot into actually buffing them. Once again, they were fine. Stormrazor was a little bit underpowered, I'll give you that. It being buffed was probably fine, but realistically speaking, I don't think AD carries needed a buff. Every team has an AD carry right now. They've had every team with an AD carry for 13 years. This isn't an issue of a role. Every team has to have a bot laner. Bot laners don't all have to be AD carries. Every team choosing to take an AD carry or you're trolling means the role is doing fine. Everybody get that? Tiamat is seeing the same cleave nerf that Ravenous Hydra is getting. Okay. So it looks like the jungle is getting a little bit of a nerf here as well. The jungle's been pretty overpowered for a while, and now they are nerfing it again, which is probably fine, but what are you gonna do? Jungle companion damage reduction versus epic monsters. Okay, so the large monsters, you're now going from 30% damage reduction to 20%, so junglers should be able to do Dragon and Baron less well. But this should also mean that champions like Master Yi should be less capable of just soloing Baron, hopefully. Then the amount of gold, I'm not going to go through all of them, but the amount of gold the jungle gives has been reduced across the board. I'm looking here, and it seems to just be an across-the-board gold nerf on everything from the jungle. Personal opinion, it's not mid-game jungle that's overpowered. It's not mid-game jungle gold that's overpowered. No one has ever farmed the jungle and then said to themselves, God damn it, farming the jungle is OP. The issue is you can only, the issue is you use your smite, you clear to level 3, and at this point, you're now a level ahead of all the laners. And at that point, you just spam gank the entire rest of the game. The issue is not the jungle's mid-game. In fact, the jungle continues to be pretty, fine in the mid-game, realistically. This nerf isn't needed. I'll say this once, and I'll say this every single time. I will say this every single time they nerf the jungle in a dumb way. It's not the jungle's mid-game that is underpowered. Overpowered. It is not the jungle's ability to farm that is overpowered. It is not farming the jungle that is overpowered. It is a fact that because of how XP works, jungles power up to level 3 or even level 4, and then they just spam gank the entire game. This means that they rule the first 10 to 15 minutes of the game, which means they are the strongest role in the game. When you have one role that is just the strongest role for 15 minutes of games that last for 20 minutes, obviously that role is stronger. Nerfing their mid-game doesn't solve the issue. You need to actually go over their early game and address how quickly they can get level 3, level 4, and how quickly they can take over games by just spam ganking. So that's everything in this patch. That's everything that's happening. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, give a comment on any of your thoughts. And as always, thank you to subscribing to my Patreon, all my Patreon supporters. Thank you. I love you guys. You are extremely beneficial. Thank you to all my YouTube members. You guys are also extremely beneficial. If you want to support me on either of those, you can look into the description. Other than that, thank you all for being here. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.